Hey, this is Chris. This is another guitar lesson, and I'm going to demonstrate a Spanish style strumming and chord progression, strumming pattern and chord progression. And I actually use this style and this chord progression in a song called Layla Took the Highway, an original track of mine. And I will post the song in the description below if you want to check that out. And I think the object of learning this is you can use it in your own songs and your own music, but if you want to play along to my song, that's another really good way of integrating the techniques and applying them, and learning it quickly, having something to play along to. So I recommend doing that. So we're going to dive into what is going on here. So the first thing we want to talk about is the strumming pattern. So that's the strumming pattern. So it's simple, and it's got a bit of sort of it's quite brisk. It moves along. And where I got this sort of rhythm from was listening to Iron Maiden songs and learning them on the electric guitar years ago. And then I must have just been applying that strumming to some acoustic chords and sort of liked it, and decided to use it in a song. The strumming is pretty much the same the whole time. So it's a good exercise for your strumming to work on that rhythm, and it's got like a galloping. They used to describe it with the way Iron Maiden used it is got a galloping kind of feel to it. So kind of like riding a horse along the plains, which is probably why it conjures up that kind of Latin and Spanish kind of feel as well. So as an exercise, you can just go to E minor. Now, the other thing to note is I'm using a capo on the 3rd fret. So what that means, and I promised to explain a bit about capos. So what that means is E minor becomes G minor. And the way that happens is if I have the capo off the guitar, that's an E minor chord. And then if I put it on the 1st fret, then it's gone up one semitone. So that's what the capo does. So it goes from E to F. So F minor, and then another semitone, and then that's F sharp minor, and then another semitone, and that's G minor. If we kept going, it'd be G sharp minor on fret 4, and then A minor on fret 5, and so on, A sharp, B. So, sometimes when you're learning a theoretical concept like this, it's going to raise other questions. Like, for example, why is there no E sharp and why is there no B sharp? I obviously didn't mention them, and that was intentional. If you need to brush up on your theory, then I would suggest, learning a bit about the 12-note scale, the chromatic scale, and basically, Google some of those things I just mentioned, and read up about it. So that will help you understand how to use the capo, and what's happening when I'm using the capo. What key am I in? So I'm in the key of G minor, and we're going to talk about the verse. Okay, so I'm using E minor chord shape, and then I'm going to a C major chord shape. And then I'm going to go to a B7, but I'm going to do a different way. I'm going to slide down, and I'm only going to hit the middle 4 strings. So normally with a B7, I would do this, and I would hit the 1st string as well, but it's very convenient going from C to B7 just to do without that high string. So if I go, particularly at a faster tempo, it's a good idea to change as easily as possible. So this is an easy way to change, and I suggest just practicing right now, you know, just change between C and B7. And you'll notice that these two fingers stay where they are, and the pinky jumps onto the third string. And something else I can do is use the fleshy part of my index right next to the capo, so still on this side of the capo, but it's just kind of muting that first string, so because we don't really want to hear it, because normally we'd be playing fret 2, but with this particular fingering, you know, there's no finger available to play that first string, so at fret 2, so we're just going to mute it with the first finger. So that's something you'll practice. It can be a bit tricky getting that there, so another thing to do is just not play that string, or even if you do play it, it's not going to be a big problem, because it doesn't sound terrible. It's actually just still using the same note from the C chord, this E note. And so if you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. Sometimes it's good just to make things ergonomical, and it can sound better, even if you've got an extra note that, like this open E. If that means it's going to be smoother, then that can be a good place to start. So we've got the verse. And that repeats a few times. And then we have a pre-chorus that goes to an A minor. And then I am going E minor, so A minor to E minor, back to A minor, and then to a B7. So I recommend, practicing that as a separate progression. So I'll play it one more time. Now another thing I did is, when I went to the B7, I did it a different way this time, which is the way that it's usually taught. And the reason is I'm coming from an A minor chord, so that's a lot different from coming from a C. That's why I used a different fingering. So what I did is I went like this. By the way, I will actually post these chords and the chord chart, and it'll show what fingers to use and what frets, etc. So I'm going to post like a PDF that you can download. So check that out in the description too. So I'm going from A minor to B7. And initially I actually just went to that same chord where we've got that open E string, and then I later added the second fret on that high string, just to create a bit of sort of interest in those last few bars, because it does sit on that B7 for I think 4 bars. So you could do 2 bars without the pinky on and then 2 bars with it on, and you'll get sort of 2 different flavors, which can make it a bit more interesting. So now we're going to go to the chorus, and it starts with an E minor chord. So it pretty much just does that a few times, and then, the chorus will extend into some sort of choir type vocals, some chanting type vocals, and it'll be the same progression. So that's that one is a E minor, A minor, B7. So practice that progression, and the guitar solo in the song, it'll actually go to actually I beg your pardon, it'll be very similar to the pre-chorus. I think it'll basically be going just A minor to E minor, A minor to E minor, A minor to E minor, and eventually it goes to a B7, I believe. So might double that, possibly. I think it does, yeah. So that was A minor, E minor, A minor, E minor, A minor, E minor, A minor, B7. And then it'll do it all again. So that should be, that should get you going with this song. So really just, you know, create exercises where you're slowing down a little bit and just do it on one chord to start with, then do it on two chords. So really focus on getting that strumming, you know, nice and relaxed. You can also sort of create an exercise with it, and you can build up the speed. But you want to sort of focus on being relaxed. That's the first thing. And it's sort of like you're throwing, you know, you're cracking a whip almost, or throwing something, you know, like, so the wrist is being used a lot. Okay, so great way to warm up your strumming. Yeah, and then of course practice even just changing between some of these chords and just doing single strums, because that way you can focus on this hand. So that's the C to the B7, the first way we did it, and then the A minor to the B7. And you'll notice, you know, if I can sort of not have to take fingers off the fretboard, then I won't, because it'll be a smoother transition getting there. So there's really only like 4 chords. There's 2 versions of B7, but there's really only an E minor, an A minor, a C, and a B7. So 4 chords and 1 strumming pattern. So the key here is, you know, the song is fairly up-tempo, so just practice with a metronome too, you know, set it at a slow pace. And just get your rhythm really tight, you know, really on the click. And see if you can tap your foot. I mean, that's like the next step to working on rhythm, is getting your foot to tap along. And it's, you know, some days it's easier to be more relaxed than other days, and, you know, I find myself more relaxed and easier to get into the pocket and get into sort of, you know, tighter rhythm some days more than other days. So, yeah, so it is kind of something to keep practicing, kind of like singing, you know, keeping the voice working so that it's not strained, you know, because if you go too fast and too hard too soon, you know, you'll tighten up and tense up, and that can sort of adversely affect rhythm. So try and be relaxed and practice. It's easier to be slower initially to be relaxed. So practice slowly and focus on keeping the body fairly relaxed. And then when you speed up, you want to just put your awareness through your body and just say, am I still reasonably relaxed? I mean, as you get faster and faster, of course, you know, there'll be tension that will increase, but just sort of see maybe where the tension is and maybe just notice it, and sometimes that can really help to break through to new levels and things like that. So it's good. It's always good to have awareness of what's going on as you're playing, and particularly once you don't have to intellectually think about, you know, down, down, up. That becomes automatic, and then it becomes a case of how relaxed can I be playing this, and how, you know, how can I get my timing to be better and my rhythm to be better, and how can I get the speed to be a bit better and things like that. And yeah, a lot of it does come back to just sort of what's going to feel good and relaxed. So that's about it for today. So I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. So remember to check out my song Layla Took the Highway. Remember to practice this strumming and these chord changes and see if you can play along. And remember, it's okay if you work up to that, because you can use a metronome and play at a slower tempo, or if you don't have a metronome, just basically start off at a slow tempo and try and keep a steady beat. And one way to help with that is to learn to tap the foot. Okay, so it'll be tapping on that first down strum. So tap, 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 tap. And that's where the click would be on the metronome. So I hope you have fun with this one, and I'll see you on the next lesson. Cheers.